So, a lot about tonight. The big theme tonight is we celebrate the On Hollywood 100. So these are the top private companies in digital entertainment, most of whom are private backed. They represent any new technology that touches the entertainment, either through creation or distribution in some form. And I think I counted on the program throughout the next 2.5 days. We have about 35 of the CEOs of representing these 100 companies, appearing in some form, and we have several here this evening. We go through an incredible process to determine the top 100 Hollywood companies every year, and we would never be able to survive the process without our longest standing partner, which is KPMG, which started with us when we started in 2003. So the Emmys have their Big Four accounting firm, which KPMG has forbidden me ever to mention who that is, but it's the other guys. And so we are proud that we have KPMG to legitimize our top 100. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up Scott London, who's the managing partner for KPMG. Let's welcome Scott. He's going to do, he looks like an accountant.
Boy, the heat must be getting to them if they're clapping for accountants.
So I'm going to sit down. He's going to tell you about this year's class.
Okay.
Take it away.
So give me 1 second, we'll load this up here. Okay, well, I was asked to make a few words. First of all, we're honored to have such a long-standing participation with On Hollywood and Always On. And before we get into the criteria and talk about how the selection of the top 100 was made, I was asked to say a few words about the landscape, today's economic landscape and so forth. So, you probably have never had a meeting with an accountant where you haven't had like an agenda up there, so we'll just bypass through that. But in surveying the landscape, we've moved to Hawaii, but looking ahead, some of the challenges, you hear a lot. What I thought was funny is just recently, I think there was a report that came out that said that the recession was over. Actually, it said that the recession was over sometime in '09. I think there's probably a lot of people in this room and a lot of people who are out there that would strongly disagree with that. But in various pockets, we are starting to see increased momentum with certain industries, but it's hit and miss. It starts up, it slows down, and it's very challenging. We have seen a lot of success stories, obviously, with the personal digital devices. When did it switch from PDA to PDD at one point? Was it?
I just call it the iPhone.
Okay, the iPhone. But new products and wireless apps and everything that's going on, the technology is changing our lives, and obviously a lot of you are involved in that. But that is really one of the drivers to our economy today. And growing the revenue and higher profits, with every good there's a bad. So we put the good up in black and we put the bad up in red, or the good in black and the bad in red. And it's just, even though the stock market's come back, 2010 overall has generally been a good year in terms of our investments coming back. But the access to the capital markets and high unemployment, low consumer confidence is probably the biggest concern. Without people that are out there willing to spend and want to spend because of job loss or a variety of reasons, you're just not going to see the growth in the economy. The U.S. economy is still largely based on consumption. Has been for quite some time, since a lot of the jobs have been outsourced out of the United States. And given that, when there's unemployment and when there's a drop-off in personal income, you just don't see that consumer spending, consumer consumption. I talked about the improved ability to raise capital. but it's still, the criteria to gain access to that capital is still a challenge. So it might be out there. I think there's a lot of money on the sidelines in terms of PE firms, venture-backed firms, and so forth. But it's still, you know, back in the 90s, you showed up, you had a business plan, you were given money. And now it's a lot more of a challenging play to try to get those investments in your companies. And I'm sure you've all seen that. And, you know, one of the and again, in our firm, you know, we are seeing some challenges. We know that hiring is increasing because during the period when the economy was at its worst, after Lehman went bankrupt, I think, a couple years back, no one in the accounting profession, about 15 to 20% of our people turned over every year. They went and joined private industry, they went back to school, they did a lot of different things. They learned from us from the accounting profession for a couple of years, and they used that to leverage their careers to the next level. For the 18 months following Lehman's bankruptcy, our attrition rate went to about 2 or 3%. No one was leaving. So that told me that, well, A, they're fearful that they couldn't get a job elsewhere, but no one was hiring. In the past 6 months, we have seen our attrition levels, which again I think is a good barometer, rise back up to something that's more back at the 15 to 18% range. So I know people are hiring out there, they're going out to private industry, but again, I think people are doing so a lot more cautiously. So that's really what our thoughts are in what's happening in the economy and the environment. A lot of our clients continue to niches, certain retail niches are doing quite well. You see a lot of growth in certain areas, but then at times they lose that momentum and they step back. So it is a challenging environment, but we do see a lot of momentum. I think when we come out of this, it's not going to be that traditional hockey stick growth. It's going to be a slow, steady growth, which is probably better from a long-term perspective. But anyway, enough about talking about the economy. Let me shift gears to the top 100 and share with you the process by which it was developed. Up on the screen is the editorial panel, the panel that was these 8 corporate representatives combed through. I guess we were talking before, Tony, over 1,000 entrants, over 1,000 entrants that were looked at in total. And this group combed through all of those. And some of the criteria that looked at: innovation of product or service, the market opportunity which that company represented, the commercialization, how easy it is, how well it adapts to a wide availability, the media buzz, glitz, if you will, and then stakeholder value creation. You know, what ultimately is this a growth driver for shareholder appreciation? So they went through all of the 1,000 companies, came down to the top 100, and then we categorized it further by segments. I'll just throw these up here: consumer services, content delivery, digital content publishers, and so on. And a few more statistics, the geography. If you can't see that too well, I guess you can. California, the large majority of them are in California, but you can see they are scattered around the United States. And the stage of development, which I thought was interesting, 75% of these companies are outside of the development stage, shipping product. 11% were profitable, which probably is more than the mid-90s. Back in the mid-90s, probably would have been 0 are profitable.
They didn't have any revenue.
Yeah.
Either.
And then statistically, the number of employees of each of these top 100, roughly 32 median employees, been around for 5 years, 18 million in individual funding, and the total group of this total 100 of these top 100 represent in excess of $4 billion in venture capital. So the spotlight, the winner of this, I want to spotlight our overall winner of Sesame. Sesame is a new hybrid TV service. They're expanding globally, located in Belmont, California. And I've been talking to Phil earlier this evening. They're expanding, the product is available in Los Angeles and other cities. And a couple of data points with respect to our winner of the top 100 is Sesame. And to accept the award and to help talk about his company, I'd like to bring up Phil Weiser of Sesame.